Hi, I'm Emily. My dad was everything to me. We were a team, just me and him ever since Mom died when I was little. Dad was a truck driver, always pulling long hours to make sure we had enough. Every night over dinner, he'd talk about the importance of sticking it out in school, making something of myself. He managed to save just enough to get me started in college. It was at college during orientation week that I bumped into Mark. Literally bumped into him, spilling his coffee all over his shirt. "Watch it," he snapped at first, eyes flashing annoyance. Then, his face softened as he took a good look at me. "Sorry, that was harsh. Let's start over. I'm Mark." "Emily," I mumbled, still mortified about the coffee. "Really sorry about the shirt." "It's just coffee. No harm done," he laughed, waving it off. "You here to study what, Emily?" "Financial analysis," I replied. He grinned, pointing to himself. "Same here. Looks like we're gonna be classmates." Mark was charming, with a quick smile and quicker wit. We hit it off instantly. Spending time with him felt easy, like slipping into a warm bath. Before long, we were thick as thieves, hanging out after classes, studying together, and grabbing late-night snacks at the 24-hour diner near campus. Then, just as I thought life was finally on my way up, it crashed. Dad died unexpectedly. Heart attack, out of the blue. The rug was pulled from under me, and down I went. There were no savings, nothing but the apartment we lived in. College funds? Gone. My world, my plans, all up in smoke. I was lost, but Mark stepped in. One evening, a few weeks after the funeral, he came over with a six-pack and a takeout box from our favorite Chinese place. We sat on the worn-out couch in my living room, surrounded by Dad's old books and pictures. "What about moving in together?" Mark said, his voice firm. "You know, cut down on expenses. We could make it work." I stared at the floor, not sure what to think. I don't know, Mark. I can barely afford to keep this place. Listen, we get married, move in here together. I'll keep studying, you work for now, and when I'm done, it's your turn. I'll support us then," he proposed, his eyes earnest. The idea sounded crazy, but there was a sincere ring to it. Maybe it was the grief fogging my brain, or maybe it was the desperate hope fluttering in my chest, but I nodded slowly. "Okay, let's do it. But promise me, when you graduate, it'll be my turn." "Promise," he said, reaching across to squeeze my hand. We got married 2 months later at a courthouse, with a couple of Mark's friends as witnesses. Dad's apartment became our home, our little island in the storm. My days blurred into nights as I shuffled between 2 jobs, just to keep our heads above water. By day, I was slinging coffee and plates at a bustling cafe, and by night, I sold pastries at a local bakery. Exhaustion became my constant companion, but quitting wasn't an option, not with Mark buried in his textbooks and our bills piling up. Mark's study schedule meant he was home a lot. You'd think that would make things easier, but it didn't. He had his finals coming up, and the stress turned him into a bear. The smallest thing set him off, especially if dinner wasn't ready when he expected it. One night, I came home later than usual, my arms aching and my feet swollen from the long shifts. The house was dark except for the flicker of the lamp over Mark's study table. I dropped my keys on the counter and winced at the noise. Almost instantly, Mark's head popped out from his books, his brows knitted in annoyance. "Where have you been?" "I've been waiting to eat. There's nothing ready?" His voice was sharp, each word like a jab. I sighed, leaning against the doorframe. "I'm sorry, Mark. The bakery was slammed today. I haven't even had a chance to take off my shoes yet." "Well, I'm starving. I can't study on an empty stomach, Em." His voice softened a bit, but the irritation was still there, hanging between us like a thick fog. "I'll fix something quick," I mumbled, pushing past the fatigue. I rummaged through the fridge, pulling together what little we had to whip up some scrambled eggs and toast. Not exactly gourmet, but it was the best I could do on short notice. It wasn't just the stress of our living situation weighing on me. There were also Mark's parents, Richard and Marianne. Both well-educated, well-spoken, and well-off, they never missed a chance to remind me that I didn't quite fit their idea of a suitable match for their son. Visiting them was an ordeal. Their old house was like a fortress of books and high culture. Each room overflowed with literature and artifacts from their travels around the world. The first time I stepped into their living room, Marianne had eyed my second-hand jeans and faded college sweater before offering a thin-lipped smile. "Emily, dear, have you read the latest by Jonathan Franzen?" "Oh, but of course, you've been too busy working your, how many jobs is it now?" Her tone was honeyed poison. Richard was no better. "It's a fascinating treatise on the socio-political landscape of contemporary America. But, let's discuss something simpler." His chuckle was a soft knife, and I felt my cheeks burn with humiliation. I tried to hold my own, to nod along, to throw in a comment here and there, but it was like shooting arrows in the dark. Eventually, I stopped trying. One evening, after a particularly grueling shift at the cafe, I mustered the courage to tell Mark how I felt. "Your parents, they don't think I'm good enough for you, do they?" I asked him as he clicked away on his laptop. Mark didn't look up. "Look, they're my parents. They have their ways, but they mean well." "You're overreacting." I knew then that arguing was pointless. He couldn't see it, wouldn't see it. So, I pulled back, retreating into my shell of work and solitude. Mark continued to visit his parents alone, often staying overnight. I wasn't invited, and I didn't ask to be. When Mark finally graduated and landed a decent job with a good salary, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. Now it's my turn, right? I remember asking him one evening as we sat down for a rare quiet dinner. Mark had just started talking about his new role at the company, buzzing with excitement over the projects he was handling. "Yeah, about that," he said, his fork pausing midair. "Look, Em, things are tight right now. The job pays well, but we've got bills, debts. You know how it is." I nodded, biting back my disappointment. "I get that, but we talked about this, Mark. It's supposed to be my turn. I was thinking I could start with just a couple of classes. I'll keep working at the bakery to help out." He shook his head, a frown creasing his forehead. "Emily, be realistic. We need every penny we can get. Forget about college for now." The resentment that had been simmering inside me boiled over. "I supported you," I snapped. "I worked 2 jobs, Mark, so you could have this, so we could have this. And now you're telling me to forget my dreams?" He didn't look at me. "It's not like that, and you know it. Things change. We need to be practical." Practical. The word hung in the air between us, heavy and cold. But before I could argue further, life threw us another curveball. I found out I was pregnant. All thoughts of school were pushed to the back burner as we prepared for our new arrival. Lily came into our lives like a storm, fierce and beautiful. I threw myself into motherhood with all I had, but the strain on our marriage didn't ease. If anything, it grew worse. Mark was distant, often coming home late, and when he was around, he critiqued my parenting. "You need to push her more, Em," he'd say as he watched me play with Lily. "She needs to start learning early. I've signed her up for French lessons and a toddler developmental center." "She's 2, Mark," I would protest, feeling the familiar flare of anger. "She needs to play, to be a kid." Mark had been sorting through some papers, not really listening. At that, he looked up, his expression hard. "Maybe if you had some education, Emily, you'd understand the importance of what I'm doing for her." The words said a lot. They said I was just the uneducated wife, good enough to work and pay bills, but not good enough to be a real partner in raising our daughter. When Lily turned 5, the gap between me and my family widened into a chasm. Mark's parents took it upon themselves to completely oversee her upbringing. They showed up at every school event, every concert, parading around as if they were the primary caregivers. Mark didn't just allow this, he encouraged it. It got to the point where he actually forbade me from attending school events. "Emily, you don't have the education to understand what's going on there. It's best if you stay home." he said one evening, his tone final, leaving no room for argument. I felt my face flush with hurt and anger. So, what? I'm not good enough to see my daughter perform? Is that what you're saying? Mark shrugged, indifferent. It's about what's best for Lily. My parents can provide the kind of support and image we need to project. You being there, it's just not right. I was stunned, words failing me as the sting of rejection from my own husband sank in. This wasn't just about me anymore, it was about our daughter, and the warped lessons she was learning about worth and family. Lily's behavior started changing too. She no longer saw me as an authority figure, much less a mother. When I asked her to tidy her room or finish her vegetables, she'd scoff and say, "Grandma says I don't have to listen to you." It broke my heart every single time. As Lily grew older, her disregard turned into embarrassment. One day, when Lily was about 13, she had friends over for a study group. I was vacuuming, lost in my thoughts about how distant our relationship had become. I turned the corner into the hallway, and there was Lily, her friends trailing behind her. Seeing me, she hesitated for just a second. Her eyes darted from me to her friends, and then, as if she'd made a decision, she said, "Oh, that's just the housekeeper." The words hit me like a physical blow. I stood there, frozen, as her friends nodded casually and followed her into the room. As soon as I was sure they were out of earshot, I rushed to the bathroom, tears streaming down my face. How had it come to this? How had I become a stranger in my own daughter's eyes? That evening, after Lily's friends had left and we were alone in the kitchen, I confronted Mark. "Did you know what Lily calls me in front of her friends? The housekeeper. That's what she thinks of me, thanks to you and your parents." Mark didn't even have the decency to look surprised. He just kept scrolling through his phone. "Well, what did you expect, Emily? You set yourself up for that by never pushing back. If she doesn't respect you, it's because you never demanded it." I stared at him, the man I had married, the man I had supported through college, and didn't recognize him. He was a stranger, one who valued appearances over family, image over substance. Turning 36 was supposed to be a fresh start, a chance to mend fences and rebuild the bridges. With that little hope, I booked a table at one of the nicer restaurants in town, a place where Mark and I once celebrated happier times. I even splurged on a new dress, something simple yet elegant, hoping to light up Mark's eyes like I used to. I came home that evening, the fabric of my new dress swishing softly against my legs, feeling a mix of nerves and excitement. "Mark, Lily, hurry up and get ready. I booked us a table for my birthday. It's going to be special," I announced, trying to inject some cheer into my voice. Mark looked up from his laptop, his face blank, while Lily didn't even bother to pause her video game. "Go out with you? In that?" Mark snorted first, and then Lily joined in, her laughter sharp and mocking. "What's wrong?" I frowned, looking down at my dress. "You think you look good? You look like a scarecrow," Lily scoffed, her words slicing through me. "I'm not going anywhere with you. You'll just embarrass us." "Yeah, let's not pretend we're some happy family." You're just an ignorant loser, Emily. What were you thinking?" Mark's voice was cruel, devoid of any warmth. The room spun a little, their words hitting like physical blows. "But I thought we could all have dinner together. Like a family," I stammered, my voice barely above a whisper. "A family? With you?" Mark laughed, cold and harsh. He thrust an envelope at me. Confused, I opened it slowly. It was a divorce application. "This is my final gift to you," he said, his tone final. I stood there, the paper shaking in my hands. This wasn't happening. It couldn't be. "We're moving out, Mom. To the nice part of town, with Dad. There's no place for you there," Lily added, her voice echoing her father's disdain. "You can keep this old place." They packed their bags that night. I watched, numb and broken, as they hauled their belongings out of the apartment. Mark didn't look back, his steps never faltering. Lily followed him, her eyes avoiding mine, as if I were a stranger, not the mother who had cradled her, soothed her nightmares, and cheered for every little milestone. The door slammed shut, the sound echoing through the now empty apartment. I sank to the floor, my birthday dress crumpled beneath me, the divorce papers clutched in my fist. The tears came then, hot and unending, mourning not just the end of my marriage, but the loss of my daughter, my family, my whole world. The divorce was a brutal affair, stripped of any dignity or semblance of the love. When Mark sued for sole custody of Lily, claiming I was unfit due to my educational status and financial instability, the courtroom felt colder than any place I had ever been. Sitting there, the harsh lights of the courtroom felt like a spotlight, illuminating every failure I ever thought I had hidden. My in-laws were there, right beside Mark, united in their disdain for me. Richard, with his sharp suit and sharper tongue, didn't miss a chance to emphasize my inadequacies. She simply lacks the capabilities to provide Lily with the environment she needs, Richard testified, his voice smooth and confident. Her lack of education and refinement, quite frankly, it's not up to the standard a child like Lily deserves. Marianne nodded along, her agreement silent but palpable in the tight press of her lips. I wanted to scream, to tell them that love can't be measured in diplomas or bank statements, but the words choked in my throat, strangled by the weight of my grief. When it was my turn to speak, my voice was a mere whisper, barely audible even in the hushed courtroom. I have always done my best for Lily. I love her more than anything, and all I've ever wanted was to make her happy. The judge looked at me, his expression unreadable, and then scribbled some notes that felt like the final nails in the coffin of my parental rights. The gavel fell with a sound that echoed like a door slamming shut on my heart. Custody was granted to Mark, and with it, a clear message: I was not enough. Walking out of the courthouse, the sky was a brilliant blue, mocking me with its clarity. I felt anything but clear, everything was a blur, the faces, the city, my future. But amid the chaos of my thoughts, a spark of defiance flickered to life. They thought I was done, that I would crumble, but I wouldn't give them the satisfaction. I turned to my old friend Sarah, who had come to support me at the trial. I'm going back to college, I declared, the words feeling like shards of glass in my mouth, sharp and dangerous. Sarah's eyes widened. Are you sure, Em? After everything? Especially after everything, I said, the resolve hardening inside me like cement. I need to do this, for myself. I need to show them, and me, that I'm more than what they think. The journey back to college was a Herculean task. I scrimped and saved every dime, and took on extra shifts at the bakery. The nights were long, filled with textbooks and the soft hum of my old laptop as I revisited lessons I had abandoned years ago. Social media was a constant reminder of the life I had lost. Pictures of Mark, Lily, and a woman with a too bright smile in luxurious settings filled my feed. They looked happy, untouched by the turmoil they had left in their wake. The sting of their apparent happiness fueled me, driving me to study with even more vigor. By the end of the semester, my grades were at the top of my class. The professors took notice, often using me as an example for younger students. See what determination looks like, they would say, pointing to my work. The recognition was bittersweet. With each accolade, I felt a mix of pride and sorrow. Pride for my achievements, sorrow for the reason behind my drive. But no matter how hard it was, I pushed forward, building a new life from the ashes of the old. Graduation day was a blur of pride and pomp, my name echoing in the auditorium as I walked across the stage, diploma in hand. My professors furnished me with glowing recommendations that opened doors I once thought permanently closed. I landed a job at a reputable financial firm. Starting as a junior analyst, I immersed myself in work, my life becoming a cycle of reports, meetings, and endless learning. Within 5 years, I was leading my own department, a testament to the relentless nights and skipped social outings. Life wasn't just about work, though. I bought a sleek, new car, one that hummed under my touch and gleamed under the city lights. My apartment, once a cramped space filled with reminders of a painful past, was traded in for a modern, spacious loft in a vibrant part of the city. I revamped my wardrobe, my new clothes sharp and empowering, each piece a reflection of the new me. I even changed my hairstyle, opting for a chic cut that framed my face with confidence. Then, one day, as I scrolled through job listings to see what the market was offering, I froze. There, in bold letters, was an opening for a department head at a familiar company. It was Mark's company. The irony wasn't lost on me. A wicked part of me buzzed with the thrill of the potential drama. I applied, driven by the desire to restore justice. The interview was a series of rapid-fire questions, my answers sharp and sure. The panel was impressed, and by the end of the week, I had the job. The head of the company, Mr. Clarkson, introduced me to my new team. Team, this is Emily. She'll be taking over as your new department head. I expect everyone to give her your full cooperation. The room was a mix of curious and welcoming faces, but one stood out, his expression unreadable, Mark. His shock was palpable, his eyes widening as he took in my transformation from the woman he once discarded to the boss he now had to answer to. After the introduction, Mark lingered, his pride obviously bruised. When we were alone with Mr. Clarkson, he couldn't hold back. Why her? I applied for this position. I have more experience with the company. Mr. Clarkson looked from Mark to me, his expression calm. Mark, while your familiarity with the company is appreciated, it's the broader expertise and strong leadership skills we need for this role. Emily brings a fresh perspective and a proven track record that you, frankly, haven't demonstrated. I suggest you learn from her. The words seemed to crush whatever pride Mark had left. He stormed out, slamming the door behind him with a force that echoed through the quiet office. I stood there, the ghost of a smile playing on my lips, not out of spite but out of satisfaction. After the showdown at the office, Mark couldn't handle the new dynamics. Within weeks, he resigned, his departure quiet but the talk of the office. I heard through the corporate grapevine that he struggled to find a similar position elsewhere. Things spiraled for him, and soon, the woman he was living with kicked him and Lily out, tired of his constant joblessness. They moved back in with Richard and Mary Ann, but it wasn't the comfortable retreat Mark had hoped for. The luxuries Lily was accustomed to were no longer sustainable, and even his parents couldn't indulge her whims as they once had. Reality bit hard, and Lily found it difficult to adjust to their changed circumstances. One afternoon, there was a knock on my new apartment door, the modern, spacious place I had made my sanctuary. I opened it to find Lily standing there, her eyes roaming over the chic decor and the city view that stretched behind me. "Wow, Mom, this place is amazing," she exclaimed, a whistle escaping her lips. "I guess I'll be staying here now." Her words hung between us, expectation thick in the air. I studied her for a moment, my heart aching with a mix of emotions. There she was, standing in my home, as if all the years of neglect and hurt could be wiped clean with a simple decision to move in. Lily, a fresh start isn't just about a new place to stay. It's about mending things, acknowledging mistakes. I haven't heard you apologize for anything. For how you've treated me, for the things you've said and done. Her face fell, and then, as if on cue, tears welled up in her eyes. "Mom, please, I'm sorry. Can we just forget all that? I want to be here with you." It was hard, looking into her eyes and seeing the plea there. But the tears seemed more a tactic than true remorse. "Lily, I love you, but you can't stay here just because it's convenient or because you're escaping from something unpleasant. You need to want to be here for the right reasons, and you need to make amends, truly." She wiped her face, the tears stopping as quickly as they had come. "Fine. If you don't want me here, I'll just go." The months that followed were a testament to my resolve. I heard from Sarah that Mark had started drinking, unable to cope with his bruised ego and the life he had dismantled by his own hands. Lily moved to another city, perhaps in search of the fresh start she had tried to find with me. Meanwhile, my career reached new heights. Life was good, stable, and fulfilling professionally. But it was the personal victory that sweetened the newfound success. I met Tom at a conference. His kindness and understanding were a balm to the scars left by my first marriage. We connected over shared interests, and soon, friendship blossomed into love. We married quietly, a simple ceremony with a few close friends. As I stood there, exchanging vows with Tom, I realized I had found my peace. The past was behind me, and the future was a promise I was ready to keep.